We appreciate you picking up the bill.
I'm happy to. I've got the extra cash. Since we've all been driving so much more again, I've been using Upside, the free app that pays you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait a minute. Are you saying you actually get paid cash when you buy gas with the Upside app?
Yes, I get real cash back just for buying the gas I was going to buy anyway.
But is it a hassle to use?
No, it's super fast and easy, and I can cash out whenever I want.
That's a total no-brainer. I'm downloading the free Upside app now.
Download the free Upside app now to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code LIFT for an extra 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's promo code LIFT. You can cash out anytime right to your bank account, to PayPal, or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code LIFT for a 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code LIFT.
Your brain is an amazing thing. But as you get older, it naturally begins to change, causing a lack of sharpness or even trouble with recall. Thankfully, the breakthrough in Prevagen helps your brain and actually improves memory. The secret is an ingredient originally discovered in jellyfish. Based on a clinical study of subgroups of individuals who are cognitively normal or mildly impaired, Prevagen has been shown to improve memory. A Pharmacy Times national survey of pharmacists rated Prevagen the #1 pharmacist-recommended memory support brand for the 5th year in a row. You can find it in the vitamin aisle in stores everywhere without a prescription. Help your memory. Try Prevagen today. Prevagen. Healthier brain, better life. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
From the Nashville Sports Radio Media Complex, this is the George Plaster Show. Call George now at 615-844-5600 and online at WNSR.com. And now, George Plaster.
Featuring Tennessee Sports Hall of Famer Watson Brown, Tennessee Sports Hall of Famer Kelly Holcomb, along with young gun Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome in. It is nice to be back after kind of a 4-day respite from the wars. We're at the Ford Ice Center in Bellevue. It's nice to be back at our normal digs. We have some very interesting news to share with you right off the bat after we say hello to Kelly Holcomb, who joins us from Murfreesboro. Kelly, how are you?
I'm doing good, George. How you doing?
I'm good.
The news is not about me.
No, it is not about you. No.
Oh, okay. All right.
My good friends.
I thought maybe I was going to get fired.
No. My good friends at Comcast reached out about 30 minutes ago with new exciting promotions. And why don't you ask me how that went?
How did it go?
I told them to take their promotions and shove them until you get America's team, the Atlanta Braves, on the airwaves. As I told the guy, this is ridiculous.
What did they say to you? Was it? It wasn't. It was an actual person. It wasn't AI.
It was a person.
Right?
I got this. Well, first of all, I did this 4 days ago with a person who called, and I said, I will not deal with you all, Comcast, Xfinity, whatever. Until you get the Braves on, do not call me anymore.
I bet he was delighted with that call.
Yes. What's your problem, Billy?
Little do you know, he probably doesn't even know who the Braves are.
You know, that's a concern.
That's the disconnect.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah, he's probably in like one of them little set-up cubicles somewhere in India somewhere that you had to talk to. Was he American?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, all right.
So with that as a backdrop, I did go see the Braves yesterday.
I wondered if you. I think you said that the other day that you were going to go. They had a series with the Phillies, huh?
Happy for Adam Duvall, who lives here, who hit an absolute tape measure up in that Hank Aaron Terrace down the left field line. Adam Duvall's been struggling, but he is strong as an ox. Personally, I give him every opportunity to break through this, because when he does, somebody's going to pay.
Yeah,
apparently, it won't be Comcast.
Was there a lot of folks at the Atlanta Stadium yesterday, the Truist Park?
Yeah, it was not sold out. It's so hot. And in the areas where the sun hits, man, they probably had 35,000, I'm guessing. The night before, standing room only, and I'll admit, I got emotional, and apparently everybody that saw this got emotional when they introduced Bobby Cox. He got somewhere in the neighborhood of a 3 to 4 minute standing ovation.
Oh, wow.
Bobby Cox had a very difficult stroke several years ago. Apparently can do some talking, not 100% by any means, but Brian Snitker took him in the locker room, and all the players introduced themselves, and then the Braves apparently did a great salute to him, and the crowd went crazy. And
nice.
I'm told there wasn't a dry in the house.
He's definitely deserving, that's for sure. So
Yeah.
y'all took 2 or 3 from Philly, did you not?
Yeah, but let me say this in fairness to Philly. Okay, no JT Realmuto, no Kyle Schwarber, no Bryce Harper. Now, the Braves can counter with no Spencer Strider, no Ronald Acuna. These two teams are a little bit of a mash unit kind of deal right now.
Limping toward the All-Star break.
Yeah, a little bit.
Anyway, we do have an update.
Do you?
Yep.
Does it have meat on the bone? Or?
It's got a little bit. It's getting harder and harder. But we got some events coming up with SEC Media Days next week.
Yes,
And
we will be there.
We will be there.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll talk a little bit about that. But it's brought to you by Lori Burnett Leland. You can give her a call, 615-969-4350, or log on to mortgageladyusa.com. All right, we're going to start today with some disappointing news for Tennessee fans. Former Vol Cameron Sutton has been suspended 8 games by the NFL for violating the league's personal conduct policy. He entered the league's pretrial diversion program to resolve an April domestic violence case. So Cameron Sutton in the news, not for what you want to be in the news for.
No.
He's been in the league for a little bit now and has been a solid player, but 8 games suspended by the NFL. NBA, Paul George felt the Los Angeles officer. I read that as off. Paul George felt the LA offer to him was disrespectful. So obviously he's on the Sixers now.
Whoop-de-doo. I mean, what am I supposed to do? Have a telethon for him? What was the offer? Do we know?
I haven't seen the details of the offer, but I don't think he was. Paul George is not the player he used to be, but he was apparently offended by the offer there in L.A.
Whatever. You know what? Deal with it.
Danny Hurley was not offended by the Lakers offer. He agreed. He didn't agree to become the coach.
We don't know that.
Well, I mean, it helped him a lot getting an extension with UConn. I don't think he's mad about that offer from the Lakers, but he has agreed to a 6-year, $50 million deal with the Huskies after flirting with the Lakers last month. He's now the highest paid college basketball coach, as he should be.
Yeah.
Anthony Edwards says he believes he's the number 1 option on Team USA. You got a lot of talent, LeBron James, KD, Steph Curry. He said he should be the guy in Paris this summer for Team USA.
Kelly, if you're him, would you have said that?
No, I would have just gone out and played basketball and let my actions speak louder than my words. That's what I would have done.
I did just get word the initial offer to Paul George was 2 years, $60 million.
2 years, $60 million, and that's disrespectful.
Yeah.
I mean, give me a break.
Good Lord, he ought to try radio.
We're not getting paid that, are we, Billy?
No.
But the NBA money is ridiculous.
Oh, it's like Monopoly money.
$30 million a year, and he felt disrespected. And you're right. You're right, Billy. His skills are not what they used to be. Like, at some point, you got to come to the realization that, hey, I'm not the guy that I used to be, but $30 million a year, you're not going to go hungry, Hoss.
Now, I guess he's looking at around the league, all the money certain players are making, but he's not.
Just worry about you. Just worry about you.
Kelly, we got a little bit of golf. Keegan Bradley has been named the captain of the 2025 Ryder Cup team. He's 38 years old. They'll take on Team Europe next fall at Bethpage Black in New York.
Bring it on.
Ryder Cup is fun to watch.
It is.
It is fun. It is cool.
And we talked a lot about that, I think, with you, Kelly, last year about how golf needs more of that. I know they've got the Waste Management Open where fans go nuts on what hole is it. I forget which hole it is, but
yeah, it's the par 3 that they built that stadium around, and other courses are starting to build stadiums around it too because they've seen the success of the Phoenix Open. So they're starting to do the same thing. But yesterday, I was watching, and there was somebody saying something, and the guy backed off, and then the caddy says, "Quiet, please," and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, just hit the ball, just hit the ball, dude," you know?
Yeah. So Keegan Bradley, captain of the Ryder Cup. We've got a little bit of college football here. Miami and Utah are going to meet for the first time ever in 2027 for the Allegiant Kickoff Classic in Vegas, the home of the Raiders, for an opening game. That'll be on Labor Day weekend. First time they've ever met, Miami and Utah. Should be an interesting tilt there. The Dallas Stars are splitting from Bally Sports as well. And they... and they have launched a free streaming app, which George needs to look into as well. That's called Victory Plus. So that's where everything's going, George, streaming.
What if the game ends in a tie? It's not Victory Plus then, is it? So here's what I don't understand. Okay, Bally's. Bally's is a casino. Bally's Casino made the decision to buy the naming rights of these networks from a company called Sinclair. Sinclair owns Fox 17 in Nashville. Why in the hell would Bally's want their name stuck under this pile of crap? Can you explain that to me? I mean, how would the president of Bally's not wake up and go, I am damn sick and tired of having our name attached to a company that can't pay its bills?
Who knows?
I mean, is that a fair question?
Yeah, I wouldn't.
I mean, wouldn't you pick up the phone and call the Sinclair people and say, get our name off? Okay, we're not responsible, and yet all anybody knows is Bally's Sports. Why would Bally's want their name attached?
I don't know.
It's a fair question.
It is a fair question. I wouldn't want my name attached to something like that, but it's all about making the money, man.
You good, George?
Not really.
Just go on, Billy. Just smile and wave.
Wave. George is on one today.
No, I'm just, I went down yesterday. By the way, let me say this. Even at, as Kelly likes to remind me, an advanced age, being in a major league stadium is still cool.
Yeah.
It is still a great thrill. Thank you, Comcast, for seeing to it that thrill doesn't reach my home at any point. And thank you for that classy move of taking the Predator game off during the playoffs in the middle of it. Really?
Right in the
George,
middle of it.
Did you get reacquainted with the roster since you said that you know nothing about this team? Have you got reacquainted with it?
There were 2 or 3 players I didn't know much about.
Eli White.
Who
hit his first home run of his career, I think, right? yesterday.
Yeah.
And then there's another is it JP Martinez? Is that his name? That I heard they're bringing up potentially.
Who knows?
There's a few guys now
Who knows?
You don't really know.
We get to October, I'll know.
Well, speaking of the Preds and Bally, and I mean, we don't even know are we going to be able to watch the Preds this year?
I suspect that they are busy doing something with that.
Yeah. Well, anyway, the FanDuel Sportsbook released its 2025 Stanley Cup odds. The Oilers lead the way at plus 850. Nashville is in ninth at plus 1,600. So they have, and that's as of July 8th today.
You know what?
I mean, they've moved up.
A man might want to take a few shackles and put them on the home team.
Is that a potential play?
Well, I'm just saying, look, who knows? But that roster has a chance to be really good.
Yeah. It feels like the rest of the NHL has kind of woken up a little bit, and even ESPN. I mean, the Preds, I'm not saying have been an afterthought, but they certainly haven't been at the center of the league. So,
yeah. Okay.
So yeah, that's what I've got.
Where now?
I mean, we're waiting on Richard Pearl, of course.
Well, then let's do this. Let's go ahead and go to the break. And when Richard joins us, we'll get him on. You're listening to 95.9. There he is. So let's just go ahead and go right to him. Richard Pearl, Keller Williams.
Hey, how are you?
Richard, did you have a good weekend?
I did have a good weekend. Put 2 homes under contract and was out here in Vegas still playing a little bit of poker.
Oh, killed a lot of birds with one stone. So what property do you want to kind of showcase today?
I really don't have a property today. Well, you know what? I do. Let's talk more about the ones in Bradyville. Bradyville that I have. It's 3 tracks at 6 acres each. Perked for 4. All 3 of them have been perked for 4-bedroom site to build, and my seller's asking $300,000 for them. And if you want to check them out, my phone number is 615-268-7996, and my office number is 615-895-8000.
Hey, you know you're doing well when you close stuff while you're in Vegas. That's strong.
It just it was a busy Friday. I tried to play the main event, and then I've got people wanting a different property. So it was a lot of fun. But I love that part of the job. I love when buyers. These were buyers who didn't have an agent, and they called me up for one of my listings, and we were able to work through between them and my seller and get things to where both sides are extremely happy, and that's the best part of the job.
Beautiful. We'll talk again tomorrow. Keep it rolling.
All right, we'll see you.
Richard Pearl, Keller Williams. Now, let me tell you what we got going after the commercial break. Kerry Keating is going to join us. It's always interesting when he gets on with us. He will join us. We got a lot of hoops to talk about. You're listening to the George Plaster Show on 95.9 FM.
It was the most horrible experience that any mother could ever go through. I knew that I needed to get help. My friend, she immediately said, "You need to call Bart Durham." And you guys were there within an hour. You guys are like family for us.
Yeah, sure is nice to connect with the people that you're doing your best to help.
Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from. And for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5688.
Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com. Earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
We are back, and when last we talked to Kerry Keating, UConn was en route to another national title and a 2-year dominance in the NCAA that we have not quite seen in a while. Let's bring Kerry up here. Hello, Professor. How are you?
What's shaking? Hey, we're slinging real estate on here now? I love it.
Yeah, why not?
Hey, I got a few things I can sell.
Uh-huh. The Carolina hat being one of them?
Yeah, I'm going to root for the Heels. We're trying to influence my son to stay in state, tuition, the whole deal now that we're here in Raleigh. So we're working on it.
Okay, speaking of fathers and sons, did the NBA teams under the table have a gentleman's agreement with LeBron that only the Lakers will deal with your son? The rest of us will stay out of it.
It certainly felt that way when Rich Paul publicly came out and was saying, don't draft him. I mean, you can read the tea leaves all you want, but I mean, I've gone back and forth on this, and I know it's fodder for the shows that talk about the morning shows and all that, but nepotism be damned. I mean, you look at who else was not drafted after 55. I mean, who else were the Lakers going to take? I mean, now giving them a 4-year contract, maybe a little bit showing your hand. And obviously they needed to do what they needed to do to keep LeBron in Los Angeles. But they surely did a lot of other things to keep LeBron in Los Angeles by hiring his podcast host. I'll rep the Carolina hat properly on that side today. And not flip to the Dukies support just yet. I don't know. I was in some pre-draft preparations a couple years back when I was doing some consulting work for the Houston Rockets, and it's no pun intended. It's really not rocket science. I think sometimes you can overthink it, but I do think there's a plethora of scouting staffs in the NBA that don't really do their diligence and work as hard at it as others do. And that's why you kind of have the same type of teams producing great second round picks, and their player development may be a little bit more advanced than others. But certainly didn't do himself any favors in the first summer league game where everyone expects you to light the world on fire, and I guess pulled up lame in the second game already. So I would think most teams knew it would kind of be a tangled web if they did end up taking Bronny. And to be honest with you, he wasn't the type of prospect that I think teams really wanted to take in the second round anyway.
So let's go to one that's closer to home. When the Grizzlies were on the clock, did anybody in the room say, not only is this Dalton Knecht a pretty darn good player, but we might sell a few tickets in the process? Help me to understand what you think went on there.
This is a classic case. I always joke around that if Dalton Knecht had a different consonant at the end of his name and had a different country next to his hometown, he would have been drafted in the top 5. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me that he would be, 17, 19, wherever he fell down to the Lakers. I mean, here's a guy who grinded his way through junior college, worked his way up the ranks at a small Big Sky school, and clearly is talented enough to play at this level, and probably would have played at this level whether he went to Tennessee or not. But you can't hold the fact that he played 5 years in college at 3 different places against him. If you can play, you can play, because the NBA is now becoming more of a short-term league. It used to be long-term, draft young guys, stash them, and there's still a handful of teams that are doing that. But if you're the Lakers, this is perfect because you don't care about that. You've got to take advantage of, obviously, not just LeBron's time, but JJ's time. You've gone all in on 2 different aspects of trying to win right now. You need to get a guy that's ready. They couldn't have scripted it any better to get Dalton Knecht. Now, to your question, George, the in-state home feel of drafting at Memphis, I mean, Dalton Knecht can play for any team in the NBA. I mean, he was a first-team All-American for a reason. A lot of guys saying they would have taken him in the top 3 or 4. Who knows about these France guys? No idea. I liken this to there was when I was covering the Warriors a couple of years back for their draft, and they took James Wiseman, and I really thought they should have taken Obi Toppin. It just fit their roster better. I think Dalton Knecht fits any roster in the NBA. He's prototypical size, tough, has savvy, has feel. I don't know as much about if Memphis dropped the ball as much as Lakers really fell into something.
So, okay, let's try it a different way. What do you think Memphis saw in Zach Edey that so many of the other teams were wary of?
Well, obviously with Memphis, you have the most dynamic, if not one of them, but the most dynamic athlete when he's healthy. You have a little bit of toughness to surround him with. It makes sense to put a plug in the middle. I think it's pure size, obviously scoring at the rim. Ja Morant's going to draw all the attention at the rim. This is a guy that doesn't need a lot of space. He'll get the ball once it's dumped off to him. He proved himself too. I think he proved himself worthy over a 4-year career. Size isn't the worst thing to have in the NBA when all they're doing is shooting threes and getting layups. Because there's no mid-range in the NBA, having rim protection is paramount. Now, Zach Edey wasn't blocking shots left and right, but he has that size to take up space and is bigger than most NBA players, not named Wembanyama. I would say that's more of a defensive draft pick than it is offensive because of the fact that you have Ja Morant. And I think that he'll play well off that. I mean, you still want to be able to utilize the low post in some way, shape, or form. Most teams do with undersized players now. I'm looking at the picks ahead of Zach Edey. The only other guy that could possibly have filled that role would have been Klingon, and obviously maybe a little more polished and athletic. But the other guys were not big guys. Teams filled needs, and I think the Grizzlies felt they needed that. Obviously, you can't teach size, is the old adage. So Grizzlies are going to hope that it works out and hope that Ja stays healthy.
Is there a scenario where all of the pundits are wrong and Edey hits it big?
Yeah, the draft is such a crapshoot now, especially with COVID obviously caught up with the draft a little bit too. A lot more foreign guys had a chance to be exposed properly, developed properly, weren't as constrained as seemingly we were over here with our college kids. Yeah, I would say yes, because the big guys always lean that way. To me, it's like all or nothing. Like that happened with Wiseman with the Warriors. They couldn't get away from what they called vertical spacing. Someone they could throw the ball up to. He's a little bit more athletic than Edey, but that size, that length, obviously being the left-hander, is always intriguing to coaches as a shot blocker. Yeah, because you had one guy go ahead of him that's of similar ilk and Klingon, and no one else other than maybe one of the French kids with any relative size. The rest were really guards, and Castle and Shepard and Dillingham. Yeah, I mean, if that's a guy that has an all-rookie type season, you always are going to look back and say we could have, because there's only 5 guys going to make that team. Once you get past the top 5 picks, it's all free game. But this happens more at the end of the first round than it does in the lottery. But you go back to every lottery, there's always a guy that looks really sexy and sounds really good and just completely disappears. Because of the fact that he's 7'4" and he carries a lot of weight, and he's not crazy athletic, and the game has become faster, guard orientated. But as I said, still 3 or at the rim dominated. It's kind of all or nothing if you're Zach Edey.
So I've kind of gone out on a limb, and my buddy Mark Griffin agrees with me, but not many other people do, that while Reed Sheppard is a fine player, got great offensive skills, hey, he's not a 3rd pick in the draft. He's not going to just shut down Jalen Brunson and Donovan Mitchell and all the great guards in that league. What am I missing there?
So I think I've always had high regard as a barometer if you're that guy that you do not let what happened in the NCAA tournament happen, whether you're at Kentucky or whether you're at anywhere else. Now, I'm also a little jaded that I took Reed Sheppard in my fantasy pool and it blew me out of the water. So I'll say, I will admit that. I am a little bit, perturbed by that. But I tend to agree with you, George. I'm not sure he's a 3rd pick in the draft type guy, unless the Rockets felt from a mental standpoint he was so far and above everyone else to pick up on the game and its intricacies, and that he could handle the ball well enough to make the right decisions while also waiting for the ball to come back to him and be a knockdown shooter. I think you hit the nail on the head. When it's that type of guy, you have to look to the defensive end. Who can you guard? I mean, they had questions about Steph early on, and he couldn't defend anybody. So anytime you're of that size and you have that type of ability on the offensive end, whether it's mental, physical, or both, the defensive one's always going to be the separator. Now, their answer was, well, we'll just sign guys that can shoot a corner 3 and play defense. We'll sign 3-and-D guys. We'll sign better 2-way guys. I always kind of scoffed at that. You're supposed to do that anyway. That's what basketball's supposed to be. So I think there is a lot of impetus on Reed that defensively he's going to have to prove he can guard on the ball. He's not big enough to guard on a wing. I mean, he's not going to guard Dalton Connect. Right. So you're limited, those type of guys. He's going to have to guard a 1 and a 2. And if he can't keep guys in front of him, or if he can't fight through a ball screen, or in this way, they don't even do that anyway. They just switch the ball screens. You're going to find yourself guarding bigger guys because teams just give up and switch on ball screens now across the league. It can put him at a huge disadvantage. He better be damn good offensively to offset that, a la Steph Curry.
How many teams do you believe, if they had had the 3rd pick, would have selected him?
I'm not sure any. I think that's just a team that teams fall in love with these guys, and I don't know if they had the capital. I'm looking through too. I don't think they had another 1st-round pick. The Rockets didn't choose till 44. I don't think they had any assets to move to maybe. That's one of those deals like, well, you got Reed at 3. Well, you could have got him at 14. I'm not so sure that the honesty was being shared that they could have utilize that sentiment to maybe get some assets and move down into the lottery. Look, he's a really good player. He's definitely an NBA caliber player. But I think to your point, that's a guy that you look back as a third pick. Third picks usually they don't look like that. Those are guys that are good mid-first rounders, maybe even second rounders that develop into being career pros, maybe have a couple of good, great years. He certainly has the pedigree, has the talent. I'm not sure I would have put a third pick on him.
Okay, let's do this. Kerry Keating, of course, is a former Santa Clara head basketball coach. Before that, closer to home, had been an assistant for Buzz Peterson at the University of Tennessee, and before that with Jan Van Bredikoff at Vanderbilt. After the break, Kelly Holcomb goes front and center stage with Kerry Keating. Stay tuned. You're listening to The George Plaster Show on 95.9 FM. As you might be able to tell, my buddy Stan Harrison, he's an Alabama Crimson Tide fan, but he's actually here to talk about Apple Collision Centers.
Hello, Middle Tennessee. I'm Stan Harrison, CEO of Apple Collision Centers, and we understand the stress it causes in having an automobile accident. We can help you ease the stress of the auto body repair process at our 3 locations. We're conveniently located in Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin. We've got rental cars available, we have PDR technicians available, and we have windshield technicians available. Please stop by one of our places and see us if you need our services.
And by the way, when you come in his office, this just in, he's a sports fan.
You were in a crash.
Yeah.
Your kids were in the car with you.
We're very lucky to even be telling this story to you. Nikki treated us like family, and she was very caring and loving, and I'm just so grateful for that. She was somebody I could trust, and being a veteran, that's so important to me. My kids are going to have a better life now because I don't have to worry about those expenses that we were out. Your family has really created a legacy of trust, and I would recommend you to anyone.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
For over 35 years, Wilson Bank & Trust has been committed to providing customized banking solutions to help individuals, families, and businesses in Tennessee achieve their goals. As your full-service community bank, we are proud to offer loans with competitive rates, local decision-making, and fast, friendly service from our experienced lenders. No matter where you are on your financial journey, Wilson Bank & Trust is ready to help you take the next step. Visit your nearest Wilson Bank & Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormone deficiencies and imbalances, and Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and wife Daphne, along with their experienced staff, give men the treatment required to improve their quality of life, improve your immune system, energy level, cognitive function, and more. There's no better time to achieve a healthy lifestyle. What are you waiting for? Give Cool Springs MD a call today for an appointment at 615-486-3458 or visit the website coolspringsmd.com.
If you're having plumbing issues, there's only one guy to call. That's Adam Whitehead. As a third-generation plumber, Adam was born and raised right here in Bellevue. Customers praise his professionalism, efficiency, and personability. Adam is known for his prompt response to emergencies and for providing high-quality repairs at reasonable prices. His expertise extends to various plumbing issues, including sink leaks, dishwasher installations, and outdoor water issues. Call him at 615-485-1534. That's 615-485-1534.
Part of Kevin Todd's Inner Circle, and you'll have access to his upset specials. Dogs winning outright. Favorites running away to win by 3 to 4 touchdowns. Let him earn your business. Let the sportsbrokers.com show you how to win consistently. Call now and get today's underdog winner outright. 800-220-6262. Absolutely free. Kevin Todd is the nation's #1 sports handicapper. He's the professional the professionals turn to. It's yours absolutely free at 800-220-6262. That's 800-220-6262. Kevin Todd turns outcomes into incomes. Call now, 800-220-6262.
Our buddy Kerry Keating is with us as we welcome all of you back. Kerry, of course, once the head coach at Santa Clara, before that an assistant both at the University of Tennessee and at Vandy. Be interesting to see where Kelly takes him. Kelly, the floor is yours.
Coach, how you doing?
Great, Kelly. Good to see you, man.
You too. So we're talking about Reed Sheppard, and George has been on this for the last week or so, since the draft about him. And, he's a good player. But, like, when you come together in a room like that, and you have your draft, your war room, they call it, the draft room, there's different points of views and different opinions. Is this a case where somebody just said, hey, I'm the big guy that's in charge here, I'm making this pick, or do you think it was a consensus on everybody in the room to take that pick?
It's very possible that it could have been just a straight GM pick, right? Whoever's got the overriding decision. Owner, GM, whatever the setup is. The other part of this too is, in most cases, most coaching or most scouting staffs are regionally organized. And although they'll give a chance for all of the scouts to put live eyes on the kids, especially in different competitive settings, but by and large, someone's going to own that report on Kentucky or on Reed Sheppard. When you're talking about a guy that started 5 games. Now, I get the whole Kentucky thing and the depth and Calipari notwithstanding, but someone definitely in that case, you're talking about a 6'3", 180-pound kid that, obviously is a very good shooter, has great pedigree, great feel. Someone had to step up and put their butt on the line, so to speak. And if it wasn't the GM, then that scout is the senior scout. And, I know in the past they've got scoring systems, grading systems. The interviews are really important. I know the background and the interview process is very, very important as well. I mean, they're investing millions in these kids. They want to make sure it's a good investment from that standpoint. Obviously, I think Reed turns that up in spades. But it doesn't sound to me that for someone that started 5 games at Kentucky in 1 year, you would have overriding consensus in a room that this is the kid we're going to take at 3, when, again, you probably could have got him at 14, looking at especially who else drafted. So, but maybe there were no takers for that. And Houston, you got to look at Houston's roster too. I mean, the one thing we're not talking about as much, and it's easy to pinpoint it all on just Reed and take it for face value, is, Houston has an very, very, very athletic roster, very young and athletic roster, made a huge push at the end of the year last year, started to come together. He may fit mentally more into that roster than anyone else that they had. Like Stephon Castle may not fit that roster. Like I think there's some credence to that to give him a little bit of credit. Yeah, okay. We can say what we want as pundits and armchairs, but it may be more of just not just the loudest voice in the conviction, but that he may have been a really good fit for what they needed in this next 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, and I wish him well. I mean, it sounds like something I can remember when I was playing, and I'm not going to tell the coach, and I'm not going to tell you where I was playing, but it came after the draft that, the coach said, you scouts are crazy, man. This guy is better than these guys, because he coached him in college. So he puts him at the top of the board. And, we passed up on Richard Seymour. I'm sure y'all probably don't know who Richard Seymour is, but he's a Hall of Famer. And we passed up on him, and the guy that we took, nobody's ever heard of him. So, I mean, that stuff comes into play. And I was just wondering, to see what you thought about that, because that's kind of seemed what happened to me. But that's neither here nor there. So I hope Reed Sheppard has a great career. I think he's going to have to work on his game. But here's my other question to you, Coach, is years ago when Kobe Bryant was still alive, I read an article, and I'm going to this deal about the French players that were taken, the first two that were taken this year, and then Wembanyama was taken last year. And he talked about in that article how AAU ball was killing college basketball because everybody becomes selfish. It's all about them. They don't have the fundamentals of the game. And he said all these international players are working on the fundamentals, being a team-oriented player, and it's just totally changing the game. What are your thoughts on that?
This has been going on for last 5 to 10 years. Once the salary got slotted and structured and you knew what you were going to get paid in certain spots, and there was an identification of the top kids, and we juggled back and forth between high school kids being able to go right out of college or having to go to college first or stay a year. I think there's a new documentary that just came out about a little bit about this whole business of AAU. It's not set up for development. It just is what it is. I mean, I'm going through it now with my 14-year-old son and his team coaching 8th grade AAU. One of my former players just signed a $10 million a year contract, and I'm coaching 8th grade AAU. So I should tell you how life comes full circle at you. I don't get paid anything for that, let alone $10 million. I got 10 million headaches that come out of it, but not worth its weight in gold. Kelly, I think we do have a fundamental issue with the game not being taught at an early enough age, just from a fundamental standpoint. It started 15 years ago when camps and instructional camps gave way to AAU, when the NCAA was worried about recruiting advantages for coaches that were working at these camps. I grew up in the 5-star camp in the Northeast. There were college and high school coaches aplenty. It was an unbelievable teaching environment. Kids learned how to play. Coaches were born out of there, but great players were born out of there. And it doesn't exist anymore. The financial world of AAU basketball is just it's astonishing, and there's more emphasis played on playing game. Now the NCAA has come back and said you can only play a certain amount of games. They have somewhat curtailed that with some guidelines, at least in the live periods when the coaches are out. Like in this July period coming up, you can't play more than 2 games a day because there were kids playing 3, sometimes 4, and they're jumping teams around. I do think it's had the direct effect on why we're not dominating the draft in that sense. Look, we just talked about it. It may be one of the reasons why a guy like Reed Sheppard stood out versus other U.S. players, because he may be more suited towards understanding the game, being more fundamental, being more coachable, being more flexible in different systems with a skill set and a mindset that he has. But it's clear that we have the opposite approach. We work out individually, we work on our shooting and our ball handling, and then we go play in games aplenty. International, it's completely different. They may play 1 game and practice 5 or 6 times, where we'll practice once if we're lucky as an AAU unit, and then play 5 or 6 games. It's completely inverted, and it's showing up. Kobe said that it's been happening. It's just now becoming more prevalent, and as you see in this year's draft, actually happening to where now, like I kind of made the half in jest about if Dalton Knecht was in the Polish national league or German, right, or Czech, right? Who cares if he's 21? We would have a little bit of a thought that, hey, he was developed a certain way. Like your mindset changes. I sit here and think about, okay, my son's going to go to high school. He should play freshman or JV. If he's good enough to play varsity, fine. But part of me is thinking, like, let's go overseas for a couple of years. Let's go to an academy in Italy or Spain and go to high school over there. And you really want to go travel and learn a different way, because the game has now broadened to be fully international. Look at our MVPs in the last, 4 or 5 years, all foreigners, right? Jokic, Antetokounmpo, like there's a reason for that. So I think it'd be helpful if you can afford the time to do it. Shoot, I would love to take a 2-year sabbatical in Italy and watch and learn that. And, as a coach, learn that way too. But I think you have to be open to those things until they come full circle. Selfishly, I'm trying to impart that here in Raleigh. We're a booming population. Our city's blowing up with implants, kids everywhere, and no centralized place to teach them how to play. And everybody wanting that. Like, I take our team out. I told them, I don't care if you win or lose. I don't care if we lose every game. We are not doing this to win games. We're doing this so that, and here we are now in our last tournament coming up this weekend, I can gauge where you were in April, and then I can look at you in July and say, okay, you're getting ready to go to high school. I know that you know how to play. We had 3 kids that were going into their high schools that had workouts, and all 3 of them had a chance to make an impression on the varsity coach because they communicated on defense, they knew the rotations, and they made extra passes. They're not bigger, stronger, more skilled. Yes, they're pretty good, but it stood out. So I know it's the right way to do things. I think we just need a total reset. It needs to start at the highest levels, Kelly, and really get our youth taught how to play basketball the proper way.
Well,
you got one more.
Well, I would have loved for my daughter to have played for you, because the first AAU meeting we had with her coach, it was like, this is all about you. You got to be selfish. And I wish I would have walked out of the room. I really do. But that's, you just said it. That's the way it is. So my last question to you is, Coach, we talked about some of the money, and you just talked about that. But, the money keeps skyrocketing. Danny Hurley got a huge new contract, but where I'm going, and this is kind of cynical. It's kind of cynical. Do you feel sorry for Paul George because he felt disrespected for 2 years, $60 million? I mean, are we kidding with that?
So truth be known, in Georgia, I have a Paul George story. So Paul George was on a Los Angeles AAU team in the same years as my last recruit at UCLA, Drew Holiday. My first year at Santa Clara, we recruited Paul, and Clay Thompson were on the same team. Nobody's recruiting Paul George. And when I say no one's recruiting Paul George, nobody's recruiting Paul George except for us. So I called Paul George in August because we're a quarter school. We have to wait a little bit later on the official visits. We had to wait till like the first week of September. So we had an official visit for Paul George set up. We did a home visit with Paul George, and I won't go into too much. I'll save the home visit story for the next time about how his fishing career got started with a carp that was flying around in my head in a big tank on the couch in the home visit. Great. We'll save that one for the next time. But Paul George actually committed to us at Santa Clara and came on his visit, had a really good visit. His sister was a senior at Pepperdine at the time. 2 weeks after his visit, Pepperdine, in the friendly confines in the mountains of Malibu, decided to have a party on campus of opening weekend, or as we formerly know, Midnight Madness. And he went to go visit his sister, went to the party. Their coaches found out he was on campus. He had already committed to us. Actually, not once, but twice, committed before his visit and on the visit. So reconfirmed, Paul George is coming to Santa Clara. And they somehow had him convinced that Pepperdine's minority rate was way higher than Santa Clara's. I'll save that for the research team to see who won that battle between Santa Clara and Pepperdine as far as minority student rate goes. That was the two I was concerned about, the 2% at each school. Like, totally screwed his head up. He ends up going to Pepperdine. The coach quits in December, and he's got nowhere to go. And I told him, they don't want you at school there. They don't even know. Don't sign.
If he'd signed with you, you wouldn't be doing this interview right now.
I wouldn't be heading to Dayton this weekend to coach the Rise and Grind TBT team to hope that we can win 6 games. And I get some Zell sent to me as part of this $1 million we're going to win. So, yes, so Danny Hurley gets $10 million a year. I got to go coach a great group of kids on Rise and Grind, by the way. I will say that. Great group. We have to win 6 games to get $1 million collectively, and then we're going to split it up somehow. Yeah,
Stop there.
That's what
Stop there. We got to run. In the radio world, you got to get to the break. Kerry, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Anytime.
Okay, we'll go stat of the day when we come back.
Good afternoon. They're filling out paperwork on that wreck out west. It's going to be 40 westbound at the 192-mile marker. That's near McCroy Lane, just before you get out into Kingston Springs. Still a little bit of rubbernecking going on. Still a little bit heavy over here on 24 as you head out through Antioch into Murfreesboro, Rutherford County. 65 doing what it normally does. Heavy right now northbound up through Madison on that ramp to Vietnam Vets. Prince's Hot Chicken is hiring at all their locations. Check out that new menu, princeshotchicken.com. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Bar Lines at the Omni Nashville Hotel downtown is at the heart of Music City. Located within walking distance of the Country Music Hall of Fame, Bar Lines at the Omni is your downtown honky-tonk destination. Watch your team from any seat on their plentiful HD TVs and catch a live show on the Bar Lines stage featuring live music 7 days a week. Bar Lines has the ultimate Southern comfort food. Get started with classic fried green tomatoes or bourbon barbecue wings. Then it's on to the massive Smashville double stack or the world famous Bar Lines grinder. Oh, you've never heard of the Bar Lines grinder? 2 kinds of cheese, lettuce, Dijon, smoked turkey, smoked bacon, smoked ham. Now that's some smoke you want. Local brews and local spirits are on tap at Bar Lines. Take a seat on the patio outside and soak up the rhythm of Music City. Bar Lines at the Omni Nashville Hotel, 5th Avenue, downtown.
What happens when the thrill of Powerball meets the thrill of NASCAR? You get a chance to win an exciting trip for 2 to the NASCAR Championship Race in Phoenix, Arizona. Plus, the chance to win $1 million in a special drawing. Enter the NASCAR Powerball Playoff Second Chance Drawing at TNVIPRewards.com between June 17th and July 31st for your chance to win. The Tennessee Lottery. Game-changing fun. Please play responsibly. NASCAR is used with express permission. NASCAR LLC is not a sponsor of this promotion.
You enjoy the thrill of gambling, but what happens when it becomes a problem? Whether you want to cut back or quit gambling altogether, the Gambling Clinic has been helping people change their gambling for over 2 decades. We're here to help, not to judge. The Gambling Clinic is a Tennessee-based clinic offering in-person and telehealth support to help people win back their life. Visit us at thegamblingclinic.com. This project is funded by the Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services.
It's JB and the General.
Coach of the Vanderbilt baseball team, Tim Corbin.
You just got to see guys leave after 4 or 5 years that have thrust everything into your program. Yeah, it's difficult. I think it's why our program is a little bit different. It's why it's unique. It's why it's special. There's a family component to it that's very real that not everyone else has.
Weekdays 9 to 11, live on WNSR.
Wrapping up hour number 1, we're talking a little Royals, Chiefs, maybe moving over to Kansas up next with Chris Mitchell. But first, stat of the day, brought to you by Adam Whitehead Plumbing here in Nashville. If you ever have issues, water heaters, bathrooms, kitchen sinks, water or sewer lines, give Adam a call, 615-485-1534. All right, we're going baseball today, and we're talking a little All-Star game. The rosters have been announced, and 3 rookie pitchers are going to the Midsummer Classic. George, being a Braves fan that you are, can you name the 2 Braves pitchers since 2010 to have made the All-Star game as a rookie?
You know, I don't think Spencer Strider is one of them. Spencer Strider early on was a relief pitcher. And
That's
so right. I don't think it's Strider, which feels like an obvious. I don't think it's Max Fried. Max Fried early on was not the stud that he looks like now. Put it out there. Let's see what we got.
Craig Kimbrell.
Oh, yes.
And Mike Soroka.
Mike Soroka pitching in relief right now for the White Sox. I'm rooting for him.
Good guy.
Good guy. Craig Kimbrell has had a Hall of Fame career.
Sure has.
Okay, hour number 1 is done. We'll find out about the Chiefs, the Royals, and the old Truman Sports Complex, which appears to be going up in smoke. Stay with us.
ABC News, I'm Daria Albinger. A Parkinson's specialist visited the White House at least 8 times from last July through this March, including a visit to President Biden's personal physician.
The president, I can tell you, has seen a neurologist 3 times, as it's connected to a physical that he gets every year that we provide to all of you.
But the White House press secretary Karine Jean-Pierre insists the president is not being treated for Parkinson's disease. Tropical Storm Beryl is heading north through Texas after barreling Houston. More than 2 million people without power. The storm made landfall, a Category 1 hurricane along the Texas Gulf Coast. Much of the West Coast is still dealing with record-breaking heat. There have been 4 suspected heat-related deaths in Multnomah County, Oregon. On Sunday, the TSA screened more than 3 million people. That's a new record. Stocks closed mixed, the Dow down, but the Nasdaq and the S&P closed at all-time highs. This is ABC News.
Is heating up, just like the deals at Omaha Steaks. From perfectly aged steaks to juicy burgers, Omaha Steaks is your summer grilling headquarters. Shop the Hotter Than Fire sale at omahasteaks.com for exclusive, unconditional money-back guaranteed packages starting at $99. Plus, get an extra $10 off with promo code QUALITY at checkout. Visit omahasteaks.com, code QUALITY for an extra $10 off. Shop the Hotter Than Fire sale today, before these deals go up in smoke.
Omaha Steaks, America's original butcher.
Offer not valid in all states or where prohibited by law. Loans are subject to lender approval. See website for details.
Honey, the credit card bill came, and we're maxed out.
Maxed out cards, rent is due. We just need some extra cash to help us get by.
Maybe we should go to 27cash.com.
With our bad credit?
27cash.com is one of the largest personal loan networks. They can help people with any type of credit get up to $5,000, and cash can hit our bank account as soon as tomorrow.
When you need extra cash, go to 27cash.com. That's 27cash.com. 27cash.com.
Stirring fiber, exercising, frequent trips to the store for more laxatives and fiber. Sounds like your constipation with belly pain is a lot to manage. But if your symptoms that keep coming back are signs of irritable bowel syndrome with constipation or IBS-C, ask your doctor how Linzess can help you get ahead of it. Linzess linaclotide is a prescription medicine that treats IBS-C in adults. It's not a laxative. It's a once-daily pill that helps you get ahead of your symptoms. It's proven to help you have more frequent and complete bowel movements and helps relieve overall abdominal symptoms, belly pain, discomfort, and bloating. These symptoms were studied in combination, not individually. Do not give Linzess to children less than 2. It may harm them. Do not take Linzess if you have a bowel blockage. Get immediate help if you develop unusual or severe stomach pain, especially with bloody or black stools. The most common side effect is diarrhea, sometimes severe. If it's severe, stop taking Linzess and call your doctor right away. Other side effects include gas, stomach area pain, and swelling. Learn more at linzess.com or call 1-800-LINZESS.
WNSR, Nashville Sports Radio. From the Nashville Sports Radio Media Complex. Welcome back to the George Plaster Show. Call George now at 615-844-5600 and online at WNSR.com. And now, George Plaster.
Featuring Tennessee Sports Hall of Famer Watson Brown, Tennessee Sports Hall of Famer Kelly Holcomb, along with Young Gun Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
And we welcome all of you into the 5 o'clock hour. If you have ever been to Kansas City, you know they've got 2 beautiful stadiums in what is called, or what I guess has always been called, the Harry Truman Sports Complex. Arrowhead, big old 78,000-seat football stadium, home of the Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs. Next door to it, by the way, with about 25,000 parking spots and great tailgating, is Kauffman Stadium, home of the Kansas City Royals. I've been there twice. I've done a game at Arrowhead. And so this story that got out a few weeks ago really got my attention, because there is a chance neither the Chiefs nor the Royals are going to end up staying in Kansas City per se. With that in mind, we've asked Chris Mitchell from 105.9 KTGR in Columbia, Missouri, to join us. Chris, how are you?
I am doing all right, guys. How are y'all doing?
Doing good. Doing good. So I'm going to play dumb. For listeners who have not kept up with this story as close as you have, just kind of run through how it got to this.
Whew, oh boy, where do we want to begin, actually? So I guess we can start with, probably go back to a couple of years ago, where the Chiefs and the Royals sort of both looked at their stadium situations and decided, oh, we could probably use some renovations, or we could probably use some relocations. So the Royals threw down the gauntlet and were like, okay, we think we can move to a location downtown or somewhere closer to downtown Kansas City, because I think they took a look at places like, Busch Stadium with the St. Louis Cardinals, other places that have like a little ballpark village, surrounding it like that, right? And so they thought to themselves, you know what, we could kind of get in on this downtown stadium action, and then, have all these different businesses like bars and whatnot, or hotels or whatever, kind of be a part of our like little, almost knocked over a water bottle, sort of like satellite feed here. And then that way we can, stick around in the city for a little bit longer. Fans might be more receptive to it than driving out to the Truman Sports Complex, maybe with some more, amenities around the actual stadium. It could be a little bit more of a draw for people, right? So for a couple of years, they were mostly banking on the idea that we can go off of this 3/8 cent sales tax that's been around for about 40 years and use that as a means to fund a way for us to relocate somewhere downtown. So they had a bunch of different ideas as to where they actually wanted to put that stadium. They eventually ended up with a space around the Crossroads, that old Kansas City Star building. Downtown Kansas City that isn't being used anymore. They were hoping they could repurpose some of that area around there to make a ballpark village, and also put the new stadium there as well. Unfortunately for them, or maybe fortunately for them, I don't know, the messaging surrounding where they actually wanted to put the stadium kind of got muddled. I feel like a lot of fans around the area had a lot of questions for them that they were either slow to answer or didn't really answer at all. And I think a lot of fans believe that the Royals ownership in particular were just kind of assuming that Royals fans and people in Kansas City in general would just say yes to whatever sort of proposition they had for them. And I think that's where communication breakdown happened. And I think that gave the state of Kansas an opportunity to maybe try and swoop in there and be like, well, hey, if these guys don't want to play ball with you, we've got some ideas for you too, because we got Sporting Kansas City over in the Kansas City, Kansas side. We've got a nice little outlet mall over here. We got some room for you if you're so interested. So I think after Kansas City voters rejected the 3/8 sales tax vote earlier this year, I think that's when it really became like, all right, gloves off, time to do a little bit of Missouri versus Kansas border war for the Chiefs and the Royals. So that's kind of where we're at right now.
Chris, when it ultimately didn't pass, what was the opposition throwing out there to say, hey, we don't need to vote for this because we need to put the money to X? What was X?
Well, I think a lot of the power behind the no movement was the fact that they've taken a look at other stadium situations around the United States. You saw what happened with the Arizona Coyotes. Now they're in Utah. You saw what's been happening with the Athletics in Oakland. You've seen what happens with, teams like the Rams, for example, moving over to Los Angeles. The level of trust between the owners of these stadiums and these sports teams and the actual, citizens in the towns they put them in, I feel like there's been a lot more friction than I guess in years past. And I feel like there's been a lot of questioning about whether or not being in cahoots with, these teams and these ownerships is really the economic boon that they say that it is. You know what I mean? There's a lot of, you can do the math on it. You can do like the research on it. I've tried to take a look at both sides just so I can get a clear look at, all right, what the heck is the actual, economic, output of places like Arrowhead Stadium or, Kauffman Stadium for the Chiefs and the Royals. It's a lot muddier than I think vote no people like to say. And I think it's a lot muddier than vote yes people like to say too. So long story short, it's insanely complicated. I think there is a stigma that comes with, attaching taxpayer dollars to private enterprises that have, as far as we know, plenty of money to make their own stadiums, right? So I do think there is a little bit of, are you sure you really need our help for this? Because you can kind of, I don't know, maybe pay your way to building it yourselves. And then, the give and take there is, we go to your stadium, we pay for your parking, we pay for your concessions, we buy your tickets, your merch, all that junk, and we go see a baseball game. And then, if you want to go pack up and move, it's not like you're, pulling the plug on a bunch of, invested taxpayers, if you were so inclined. So I feel like that's where a lot of like the vote no types are coming in. I think there's also a lot of concerns about, will this, dramatically shoot up, like property values for, places where it can be kind of hard for some of the residents to, make ends meet as it is. I don't think they want like another, potential reason that the rent goes up. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of play here, I think.
Chris, what is the actual mileage difference between the Truman Sports Complex, where the two stadiums are right now, and what's being proposed on the Kansas side? What kind of mileage are we talking about?
So I think the Kansas people are willing to play ball with the Royals and the Chiefs insofar as I believe the Kansas state legislature just passed an action that would allow these star bonds, right? That would allow these star bonds to be used to sort of pave the way for these guys to build their stadium. I believe the numbers were up to like 70% of the total cost for these stadiums that, both sides of the aisle in Kansas were totally down for, that the governor has been totally down for. Basically, they've been really interested in incentivizing the Chiefs and the Royals to really pull up shop and move over to Kansas. And I think their idea is if they use some of these star bonds like this, that could be just about what they need to really lure them over to the Kansas side.
What's the mileage difference?
Man, I haven't made that trip in a little bit. I'd say like an hour-ish.
Okay, so fairly substantial.
Yeah, hour, 75 minutes, something like that.
Yeah. Kelly, say hello to Chris Mitchell.
Chris, how you doing? So do you think this is going, like, it seems like everywhere in America, everybody, like the Titans where we are, the Titans are building a $2 billion stadium.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, do you think everybody, as a consumer, it always falls with the consumer, and I think with what you're saying, people are getting tired of it. I think you're probably going to see more of it, with consumers having to pay for this stuff, and they're looking at all the money these teams are making, they're looking at all the money that the players are making, like do it yourself, and it just seems like that's where everybody's going, and I don't, I'm not upset at the folks for saying that.
Yeah, me neither. I do feel like the onus at some point becomes, on the ownership, groups themselves to sort of stake their case better than I think they have in the past, right? For a lot of these stadiums, right, especially like, Kauffman and Arrowhead, they've been around for, like 40 something years, right? So it's not like they've had to repitch the idea of having professional stadiums in Kansas City before, right? Or at least very often. And so I do think they came into the game, especially when they were trying to get the Vote Yes movement off the ground earlier this year. There was a lot working against them in terms of their lack of ability to communicate with, the general, like, Jackson County populace and the general, like, Kansas City voter who's maybe thinking, like, I really love the Chiefs. I really love the Royals. I really love that, the stadiums are, like, right there. Having it downtown would be really interesting. I'm just not really sure the impact for me, like personally, like on my wallet, tax wise. They don't want to, do like are we gonna have to get new taxes? So I do feel like there is a level of persuasion that has to be done by, people like the Hunts or like John Sherman, who owns the Kansas City Royals, to make good on, or to basically keep the conversation open and be willing and, able to communicate with these taxpayers and with these citizens who are, making these votes, right, or casting these ballots, and be like, hey, don't worry, guys, we will assuage your fears. You don't have to worry about it. They could be, talking out of their butts or whatever. But the fact of the matter is they just were not very persuasive to get people onto the vote yes train. And I do think there are some fans who feel like their lack of persuasion or ability to be persuasive may just signal the fact that they were just kind of done with Kansas City, Missouri in the first place, and we're moving on for a cheaper, cheaper buyers, basically. And I can't speak to that much at all. But the way I've seen some of these, renovation plans for Arrowhead Stadium roll out, the fact that the owners of the Chiefs didn't even show up for like the vote yes rally on like election night in the first place. John Sherman showed up, but the only person that could get down there on the Chiefs side was the team president, Mark Donovan. He's not nobody, but that's a far cry from, actually having like Clark Hunt down there, right, to try to celebrate the whole like vote yes movement. So I think there are fans who are like, maybe these guys are a little bit too apathetic to really make a serious concerted sales pitch. They think they might just be interested in finding, like the highest bid or like the cheapest buyer, and then just try to go their way from there.
So with that being said, do you think they're going to stay in? You think the people of Kansas City will just say, "Hey, let's do it," because an hour drive is a ways away? I mean, do you think that that's going to go through, or you think it's going to go to Kansas?
I think it's still too early to tell yet. I know the Missouri governor took a trip to Kansas City to meet with local legislators to talk about ways to sort of figure out a way to keep the Chiefs and the Royals on the Kansas City, Missouri side, especially after the Kansas state government were like, yeah, we can use these star bonds to help fund these stadiums. So I do think it is still too early to tell. I can't really make any predictions either way. I will say, though, their lease expires in 2030, so I think there is still a little bit of time if the city of Kansas City, Missouri wants to make another like serious pitch for the Royals and the Chiefs to stick around. Maybe that might involve taxpayer dollars. Maybe that might involve something else entirely. I'm not quite sure yet, but I don't think we're kind of close to this whole saga being done yet.
So my last question to you is, since you're being in Columbia, what is the optimism for the Missouri Tigers this year, man? They had a really good year. They beat Ohio State in the bowl game, which nobody thought that was going to happen. So how much optimism has Coach Drinkwitz and his staff and the whole area got for the Missouri Tigers this coming up year?
Oh, man, it is red hot. I couldn't tell you. You could like throw a rock into like a general populace and like hit somebody who's like, oh, yeah, baby, Mizzou's going to win like 10 games this year or maybe go to the college football playoff. I do think this team is uniquely sort of fit to go out there, especially on the offensive side with guys like Theo Lees, Luther Burden, and Brady Cook still around, to at least compete on that level. I think there are question marks about this defense still because of all the turnover with guys going to the NFL draft. Blake Baker moving on to LSU. I think there are some questions still that need to be answered on the defensive side. But yeah, especially, with their track record with recruiting, at least for the 2025 class, it does feel like Drinkwitz has built an engine that can sustain itself for longer than just a year or two. I will be interested to see if that, actually pans out for this year. But I think with the schedule that Mizzou was handed this season, I think there is a very high possibility that they could go on to win like 8 to 10 games, or even go on to, make some kind of run in the college football playoff if they do end up making that 12-team playoff.
It's interesting stuff. Who would have thought it a year ago? Nobody's laughing anymore. Chris, thank you for taking the time to join us. Interesting story on the stadiums. We're going to keep a close eye on that because that's interesting stuff.
Yeah, I mean, especially for, a lot of Kansas City, Missouri residents who, again, really do love the Chiefs and really do love the Royals. I do think there would be something missing from the area and, not just the Sherman Sports Complex, but from the city in general, if the team packed up and went somewhere. So I do hope they do come to, some kind of mutual agreement, just because it is really nice having, these teams that are, local be so close to, just the Kansas City area in general. I think having a downtown stadium would be super cool for Kansas City. I just hope, both sides can come to an agreement that is beneficial for both parties beyond just, having a stadium downtown, because, anyone can do that.
Chris, appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
Chris Mitchell joining us. He is with 105.9 KTGR in Columbia, Missouri. Interesting story.
Yeah.
One of them's a Super Bowl champ that the taxpayers are saying, screw you. Think about that.
Well, George, I've been to that complex before. They just built a new stadium. Like, I don't know how long, but I've never played in that stadium. I played in the old Arrowhead. You know, am I correct on that?
Well, no, they refurbished Arrowhead, and they've refurbished Royal Stadium as well.
I've never been in the the refurbished part of it. And it looks really nice, but like, just like what I asked him, like the taxpayer, it seems like is getting tired of all that, with them coming to them, every 4 or 5 years and saying, hey, we need more. We're going to build some more stuff. So I don't know, just crazy, but that is interesting.
Oh, there's more coming. This whole PSL effort by the Titans is not getting a rousing, hooray, thank you for doing this.
Right.
And in the coming days, we'll talk more about it. Let's do this as we go to the first break of the 5 o'clock hour. We'll open up the phone lines and basically say, look, wherever you want to take it, we'll go with you, as long as it's sports. 615-844-5600. That is our number, 615-844-5600. Billy.
Yes.
What am I looking for?
2 or 3, I guess, red-blooded Americans.
I'm looking for 3. Red-blooded Americans, whatever that means. I have no idea why I started that.
I don't either.
Yeah, dumb.
Can we come up with something else?
If you come up with something, I'll consider it. Anyway, I need 3 of you to jump in and talk some sports with us as you listen to the George Plaster Show on 95.9 FM.
It was the most horrible experience that any mother could ever go through. I knew that I needed to get help. My friend, she immediately said, you need to call Bart Durham. And you guys were there within an hour. You guys are like family for us.
Yeah, sure is nice to connect with the people that you're doing your best to help.
Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from. And for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5688.
Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
We are very excited to announce that the George Plaster Show will broadcast live from SEC Football Media Days, Monday, July the 15th through Thursday, July the 18th, live from Dallas, Texas. We're looking for sponsors. If you'd like to be a part of this, we've set up very attractive and reasonable advertising packages. Simply contact me, plastergeorge@gmail.com, plastergeorge@gmail.com. We are back, and we're headed to the phones. 2 red-blooded Americans or 3?
We've got 2 on the line
2
currently.
on the line.
But we need one more.
I need one more. 615-844-5600. Tony in Nolensville, you are the leadoff hitter.
Good afternoon, guys. I'm always glad to lead off and get a good first pitch right down the middle. So it's always
Center
good to start that way. It really is. Glad everybody had a good, safe 4th, and all the guys are back together today. I've got a question for each. One for you, Kelly, and then one for George, and I'll hang up and listen to y'all's answers off air. George, with the Predators spending the money they have thrown around in free agency this year, and then the same throwing out, a lot of money in retaining some players, how much are you thinking they should not only get into the playoffs, but I just think this team is ready to make a run. I mean, you're bringing in some truly high-class veterans on the Preds from all, other teams. I think they can make an immediate, sudden impact. And you as a fan and a season ticket holder, what are you expecting? That's your question. And
okay.
Kelly, on yours, with the season embarking on us, you as a quarterback, would you rather have a good, solid running back who's going to help you out on some dump-offs and out in the flat passes, who's got good hands or so, or would you rather have a good tight end that can also, or what used to be old wingback, now the hybrid, which would you rather have in your backfield, or you're more often to be a possession receiver to help you out like that?
I love it. We're going to let you hear this off air.
Listen to your answers. Thank
Okay.
you.
Let me do this before we go to the answers. That leaves a line open, 615-844-5600. Somebody jump in and claim that line. Kelly, are you ready?
Yeah, I would rather have a tight end. I'm a big tight end guy. Even when I coached over here at Riverdale, we had a bunch of tight ends. They create mismatches, especially if you got a good one. You look at Gronkowski, what he did over the years. You look at a Jay Novacek with Troy Aikman, or a Brent Jones with those guys in San Francisco. I'm always partial to tight ends. Backs, you need running backs to be able to run the football, but I mean, if you're throwing, flat routes to them, get them out, it's good to have, because I've been with some that had Edward Scissorhands and they couldn't catch a cold. And, I would rather them be a running back, but it's also nice if they can, catch the ball a little bit. I can remember being with Adrian Peterson. Now, Adrian was a stud, but sometimes he didn't concentrate and he didn't focus on the ball when you threw it to him. But when they're hooked up right over the center on like a little dump off, that's not a very hard ball to catch. So if it's me, I'm going with a tight end because I love tight ends. I think you can split them out. You can do things with them if you got a mismatch on them. If they got a linebacker out there, go to him. Or if they got a DB on him, I mean, you can run at him. So I just have always been partial to tight ends.
Okay, on mine, the Preds have not won a first-round series since they beat Colorado the year after they made it all the way to the finals. There is going to be a pressure on this franchise that they got to knock that door down and get into May hockey. You know, just getting in the playoffs, the pressure has been ratcheted up, and it's what Barry Trotz wanted, was to say, look, we don't want to just be a limp in as the 7 or the 8 seed. We want to get in and make real noise. That's what I think.
Be confident about your team heading into the playoffs. Not that we weren't this year, but I don't think there was a sense of, well, the Preds got a shot at the cup this year. You know?
No. I mean, look, would I have loved for it to have gone on longer? Sure. But there was some victory in getting in. There won't be victory in getting in next year. Jake in Smyrna, you are up next on 95.9 FM.
What's going on, fellas? Thanks for taking my call.
Thank you for calling.
Yeah, no problem. So here's my question. You know, piggybacking off, the Predators. Do you think paying UC Soros was the correct decision on that 8-year deal? Hasn't won a playoff series. What is your confidence with him, pushing for a cup in the next 2 to 3 seasons?
Okay, hold on with me a minute. Under the hasn't won a playoff series, let's not blame him for that. Okay, that's a team deal. Has he been good enough himself? Maybe not as good this past year. The year before, absolutely. So the fact that they have not gone and won a playoff series, it's hard to pin that on UC Soros. Now, what I think they're telling us behind the scenes is they don't have the confidence in Askarov, the Russian kid, or Askarov, however you say it. They don't have the confidence level right now to give him the whole ball of wax. And I think that may be the more important news than the fact that they said, UC, here's the money. If they didn't believe in Askarov, they had no choice.
Askarov. Yeah, I mean, he did not perform in that playoff game in Milwaukee, and that was a big moment, I think, for the Preds front office. Telling.
Front office people are always looking for proven commodities, guys, and UC Soros is a proven commodity. Like, if you have these high aspirations for a young kid, but from the level that he's at coming up to the NHL, I mean, there is a difference. So you just never know.
Can I be honest?
Yes, sir.
As a day one season ticket holder, I am pumped. Comcast, don't screw it up.
They might.
An official sponsor of the Atlanta Braves. Really? Yeah. Thanks for playing. Okay, that'll leave a line. I'm really out of control today. That'll leave a line open. 615-844-5600. Somebody jump in there and grab that line. Mark out in Thompson Station, listening on 107.9 FM. Welcome.
Thanks for having me, George. You have a nice long weekend.
I did. Hope you did.
Glad to hear. Yeah, I got a chance to spend some time with my sons, and we were kind of talking this weekend. I wanted to get all three of your thoughts on this. With the expansion of the playoff now to 12 teams, what's sort of
hold on? How old are your sons?
I got one that's 23, and I got one that's 27 who just had his first.
Wow. Okay. Congrats, Grandpa.
Thank you. Yeah, it made me feel a little old, but we were out there talking about, this new playoff system. What's a fair expectation to have at Tennessee with the money that they put into paying these kids now, and obviously the fact that every game at home is going to be tough to win when you got 100,000 at Neyland. What's a fair expectation to say that Tennessee should be in the college football playoff every blank number of years? I was kind of settling around 4 or 5. Do you think that's fair? Should I expect more? Maybe a little less? I kind of wanted to hear from the three of you about that.
Okay, Kelly, I say a little less, more like 2.5 to 3 out of every 5.
It's just funny how Josh Heupel has he's grown the expectations of the UT football, because when I was growing up, it was always Alabama, UT, and then like Billy don't even know anything about that. Like they went on a 20-year hiatus, and now Josh Heupel's come back and he's got the expectations so high. So I'm kind of that way. I think there's a lot of pressure on him, though, to make the 12-man team, because they spent more money than anybody last year in the NIL, and I'm sure they're up there this year again. So I think there's a lot of expectations, and if these people are spending money, and with the success that they've had the last couple of years, yeah, I think he needs to make the 12-team playoff. And I'm going to say 4 out of 5 years, George.
Ooh.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're saying
heavy.
4 out of the next 5 years.
Yeah,
that's heavy duty.
Yeah. I mean, hey, we'll see. I mean, it all, but they're putting the money into it.
Yeah.
So, and the way that the UT athletic department is right now, I mean, they are winning. So I'm going to go 4.
I'm kind of with Kelly. I might go 3 out of 5. I mean, this year is a big year, but I think next year is the big year, which would be year 2 of Nico. And Tony has talked about that this year that you'll probably get a mulligan if you don't make it. I mean, we talked about it. You could go 9-3 and be right on the cusp.
Okay, but you better be damn close.
Right, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You better be right there.
A 7-5.
Breathing down its neck.
Yeah, a 7-5 this year is not going to cut it.
And
maybe even 8-4. I mean, 8-4 would probably be disappointment. I think you got to get around that 9-10 range this year, and then next year I think has to be the year you make the playoff. But I'm with Kelly. They're paying up. They got one of the best collectives in the country. They're paying like a playoff contender, so they might as well play like it.
Okay, I want to ask Eric in Nashville and Frank in Smyrna to hold during the break.
Hey, they listened. They called earlier today because that was a little bit of an issue. We were getting some late calls. So they listened to the plea of calling a little bit earlier.
Okay, I like that. So I'm putting the plea out. I need one more, correct?
Yes.
For sellout status. Okay. I want somebody to jump in, grab the line at 615-844-5600. More of your phone calls coming up. You're listening to The George Plaster Show on 95.9 FM. As you might be able to tell, my buddy Stan Harrison, he's an Alabama Crimson Tide fan, but he's actually here to talk about Apple Collision Centers.
Hello, Middle Tennessee. I'm Stan Harrison, CEO of Apple Collision Centers, and we understand the stress it causes in having an automobile accident. We can help you ease the stress of the auto body repair process at our 3 locations. We're conveniently located in Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin. We've got rental cars available, we have PDR technicians available, and we have windshield technicians available. Please stop by one of our places and see us if you need our services.
And by the way, when you come in his office, this just in, he's a sports fan.
You were in a crash.
Yeah.
Your kids were in the car with you.
We're very lucky to even be telling this story to you. Nikki treated us like family, and she was very caring and loving, and I'm just so grateful for that. She was somebody I could trust, and being a veteran, that's so important to me. My kids are going to have a better life now because I don't have to worry about those expenses that we were out. Your family has really created a legacy of trust, and I would recommend you to anyone.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
You know, starting to save for your future doesn't have to be difficult. Let Wilson Bank and Trust help tone up your financial goals this year. Our certificates of deposits or CDs can help your money work harder with our competitive rates, earning you more than ever before. WBT checking options allow you to earn rewards you can really use, like a high interest rate or cash back on check card purchases when you meet some e-banking qualifications. Visit your closest Wilson Bank and Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC.
Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormone deficiencies and imbalances, and Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and wife Daphne, along with their experienced staff, give men the treatment required to improve their quality of life, improve your immune system, energy level, cognitive function, and more. There's no better time to achieve a healthy lifestyle. What are you waiting for? Give Cool Springs MD a call today for an appointment at 615-486-3458 or visit the website coolspringsmd.com.
If you're having plumbing issues, there's only one guy to call. That's Adam Whitehead. As a third-generation plumber, Adam was born and raised right here in Bellevue. Customers praise his professionalism, efficiency, and personability. Adam is known for his prompt response to emergencies and for providing high-quality repairs at reasonable prices. His expertise extends to various plumbing issues, including sink leaks, dishwasher installations, and outdoor water issues. Call him at 615-485-1534. That's 615-485-1534.
To win by 3 to 4 touchdowns. Let him earn your business. Let the sportsbrokers.com show you how to win consistently. Call now and get today's underdog winner outright. 800-220-6262. Absolutely free. Kevin Todd is the nation's #1 sports handicapper. He's the professional the professionals turn to. It's yours absolutely free at 800-220-6262. That's 800-220-6262. Kevin Todd turns outcomes into incomes. Call now. 800-220-6262.
We are back, and we welcome all of you in on this Monday afternoon. I'm looking for one red-blooded American to get the lines sold out. 615-844-5600. Eric in Nashville, you're up next.
George, I haven't referred to you like this in a while, but it's the plaster man with the master plan.
Very nice.
Oh,
thank you.
Gosh.
What's the matter, Kelly? Is there a problem?
Oh, gosh, Eric, you need to change that, my brother. You got to change that.
Kelly, you're so jealous.
I am.
Yeah. Well, Ken and the mailman refers to him as the Bob Costas of Bell Mead.
Yeah, I mean,
the Bob Costas of Bell Mead.
He started that years ago.
That's a good one.
Oh, I loved it. I loved it. I've been called a lot worse.
Yeah, that's true. George, first of all, I'm in total agree with you on Bally Sports. I'm not going to get into it, but I know I've enjoyed your rants about them. It's just insane. But we'll leave that alone. We'll just leave that alone. But two quick things, and I'll get on.
Let's not leave it alone.
No, we need to leave it alone.
Let's not leave it alone.
I just didn't want to get you more angry than you are. But as far as the, I guess the All-Star game next Tuesday, of course, everybody's talking about the pitcher for the Pirates, Skeens, that probably get the start next Tuesday. Do you think he should, or do you think there's somebody more deserving? I just want to get your thoughts on that.
Well, I think what goes on now more than people want to admit is, when is the person's last start before the All-Star game? Like, if you see somebody pitch into the weekend, Saturday or Sunday, forget it. They're not starting it. Skeens, I think his last start, will be this coming Thursday, which is why I think he will be. And the other thing is, I mean, he's becoming the phenom. He's becoming the guy that is lifting. I mean, let's face it, the Pirates have sucked from the day Francisco Cabrera hit the single off them when the Braves beat them in '92. It's been a long time since the Pirates have been any good. I want to see it happen. I'd be happy for Pittsburgh if he makes them better.
Yeah, I would too. And just with him, he could become the face of a franchise because a lot of people say, and I agree, baseball does a horrible job of marketing because about the only two guys people might recognize would be probably Shohei Ohtani and maybe Aaron Judge. But after that, it's just like, who is anybody else out there? I think a lot of fans, the people don't recognize any other players. And George, one other quick thing, and then I'll get off. And of course, one of the things that's, of course, been the big talk is which quarterback's going to get paid next, because it's got the next three. You've got Tua, you've got Jordan Love, and Dak Prescott. And I believe Dak Prescott will probably get paid last, but he'll probably be the richest. He'll probably get over that $60 million people are talking about, because I think he's a good quarterback, but he, of course, has to have weapons and good running game, good offensive line to be very successful, because I just don't see him leaving the Cowboys because he goes anywhere else. I just don't know if he'd be successful because it'd be tough for him. Because he's not that guy that can win if he doesn't have everything just set up around him good as he needs. Tua, of course, when I guess Jacksonville paid Trevor Lawrence $55 million, they didn't want to go there, but they may not have no choice because I think they were hoping more like to pay him, I guess, between $40 and $50 million, but they're probably not going to have to no choice but to pay him over $50 million or near that. And then Jordan Love, I just feel like that the Packers, he may be the most talented of the three, but it's only been like half a year sample size, but they too may not have no choice but to pay him. But just want to get your thoughts on that. Guys, I'll get off and let you get some other callers. Y'all take care, and we'll talk again soon.
Thank you. Kelly, here's what I don't understand. If I'm Jerry Jones, I walk into Dak Prescott, and I put a number on the table and say, okay, this is what we think you're worth.
Yeah.
I need you to take $10 million less than that so we can get the weapons around you that are needed to actually, win a playoff game.
Well, I mean, he's got CeeDee Lamb. He had Tony Pollard, who now is with the Titans. He had one of the best offensive lines in the game. I don't know. I've always been a Dak Prescott fan, George. I really have, and I still like him. I watched the documentary on him and, the things he went through with his mother, and I think he's a great guy. I really do, and I think the guys love playing for him. But with that being said, you got to win big. You got to win the games that you're supposed to win, and then you've got to take your team further in the playoffs than he's done, and I'm with you. I would just say, here's what we're going to give you, and then, we need some people, so we can't pay you everything. We can't give you the keys to the Cadillac on everything because you're not going to have anybody around you. So I don't know. He's just got to win a big game at some point.
Frank in Smyrna, you are up next. Hey, Frank, are you there?
Might have lost Frank there. Oh, my bad.
Can hear you guys.
Go ahead. Hey, Frank, how you doing?
That's on me.
Hey, George, fine. It's high from Phoenix, Arizona. Current temperature, 115 degrees.
Might
Feels
you
like
be in
115.
Phoenix to see America's team?
That would be it, to see the greatest team in all the land, the Atlanta Braves. I just have a hunch they're due. The way they hit against the Phillies the last several days, I feel like they're starting to get it turned around. I have just seen the starting lineup tonight. Guess who's back? Guess who's back, George?
Well, it's not
Eddie
Ronald
Rosario.
Acuna. Oh, I know. How
Eddie
about
Rosario.
that? Yeah.
How about that one? Now, I'm not thrilled with and I think I understand why Snicker wants to give these guys some rest, but Bryce Elder has been called up to start tonight's game. I don't know why. I don't know if they're just giving Sales some rest. I don't know what's going on there. But
have you been in that stadium, by the way?
I have not. I can see it out the hotel room window. It's huge.
It is humongous. It is a big old barn.
That is definitely one of the biggest buildings down here. Right next door is the home of the Phoenix Suns and the former home of the Arizona Coyotes. Well,
yes.
one of them.
Now the Utah Storm and Mormons.
Yeah, Utah, whatever they're called. The airport sits about 3 miles from here, from downtown, so it's not a long ride into the city. But this city holds the heat in well, and I guess Kelly, you can hear me. Kelly, did you ever play in the old Sun Devil Stadium during your day in the NFL?
You know what? I did not. I absolutely did not, man. There was only one. I didn't play out there. I never played Arizona out there either. I didn't play Arizona or St. Louis when they were in St. Louis. So that was the 2 places I never went.
Okay. I just wondered if you've ever been out here. It's about a 3.5-hour flight from Nashville, and the heat's no joke. I have not. No, Georgia. I've not made it to Glendale to the big coaster to see where the Cardinals play.
Nice.
They tell me that's about 30 minutes out in the desert from here, so they tell me. But I've also been told to check out Thunder Dan Barley. He has a sports grill down here.
I did a game of his in college, and he truly was thunder. Hey, let me stop there because I got a couple more I got to get to. But thank you for calling us.
Absolutely, George. Go Braves. I'm gonna get them out of this. I don't guess they're really in a slump, but we're gonna get them straight down and let's start winning some ball games. Taking 2 out of 3 from the Phillies. That's big. I love it. That sends a message that the Braves. We may not win the division, but we're gonna fight till the end. We're gonna stay in it. So,
you tell them, baby. I love it.
I'm gonna go straight about. You guys have a good one. Take care.
John in Nashville, I got 2 minutes. Do your best.
Thanks, George. Good to have you back on the air.
Thank you.
I tell you what, I really did. I just couldn't listen to you on the internet and all that kind of stuff. But I've had a couple questions for you guys. You might know this. You might have already talked about it. And by the way, tennis is my favorite sport, but football can't get here soon enough this time of year. This is where I'm just counting the days, so I'm ready to go. But what I was going to ask you is, of all the NIL, let's just say Division I football players, just say pick Division I football, what do you think, and if you need to think about it, that's fine, percentage of players that are getting paid any kind of money for NIL? If you took all like the Division I, just say the sport football, what kind of percentage would be there? And the other thing...
Hold on a second. Hold on, because it's a great question. Are we all in agreement it's over 50%?
Yeah.
Wow.
You think so?
I don't know.
That's a lot.
The quarterbacks are getting a bunch, and the offensive linemen are getting chicken wings.
Correct.
Okay. I'm
going 50%, but I got no proof of it.
Okay, and that's if you just averaged out all the Division I teams. That's pretty high. I was going to say way lower. Man, that's unbelievable. The other thing, too, is if, let's say you give guy NIL money and he just doesn't pan out, doesn't do well, doesn't, whatever, and just, doesn't start anymore, can they take the money away from him?
Then that sponsor's no longer contributing anymore.
I know it's probably not going to happen much, but I didn't know if that was, what happened in that instance. Just say the guy was a bust, like the quarterback or whatever.
Well, what ends up happening is the reputation gets out there that X school welched, don't go there. Because the first time you screw up, they'll screw you.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. That's what I was wondering. Yeah, hey, thank you, George. Appreciate it.
Let me get Terry in Franklin. Terry, I got 1 minute. Do your best.
George, how many season-ending injuries has Acuna had?
Twice?
Season-ending.
Twice? I think.
If he has a third season-ending injury, when are the Braves going to say, or will they say, he's not unlucky, he's not overly aggressive, he's soft and injury-prone, and we're going to attempt to trade him for as much as we can get? Will that day come if he has a third season-ending injury?
Absolutely not, because he's on a really team-friendly deal, ridiculously team-friendly. Never going to happen.
What if he goes out season-ending the next 2 years? Or when are they going to get tired of it? They're just going to put up with it?
Oh, I mean, when you say that, though, I mean, it's not as though he was faking it or did some. I mean, sometimes you're just not lucky.
Well, it could be bad luck. I think McCaffrey, we're seeing that McCaffrey in the NFL may have had some bad luck, but when you go out and you're not there for the playoffs year after year, you're not much help. I mean, you can help the team a little bit, but you can't help them win the World Series. So I just wondered what you thought about that.
Yeah. Although, ironically, and thank you for the call, ironically, they won the World Series the first time he wasn't around.
That's true. That's hard to do twice.
Yeah. We're out of here. Stay tuned. We're coming back.
Good afternoon. It's flowing a lot better out in Bellevue from that earlier crash we had just past Highway 70 on 40 going westbound. There's some flashing lights over here on 24 going eastbound right at Ellington Parkway. He's got traffic a little bit slow in both directions. Traffic's already heavy over here eastbound and westbound. This time of the afternoon, traffic's building pretty good down into Brentwood and Franklin on 65 South. Princess Hot Chicken is now hiring in all their locations. Check out that new menu, princesshotchicken.com. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Attention business owners. WNSR has some exciting opportunities for your business to thrive in the dynamic world of sports radio advertising. As the proud home of some of your favorite sports teams like the Atlanta Braves, Memphis Grizzlies, and more, we understand the power of sports in bringing people together and creating a passionate community. We believe that your business can become an integral part of this experience, reaching a diverse and engaged audience. Contact the WNSR sales team for an opportunity to discuss how Nashville's sports radio can elevate your brand to new heights. Whether you're interested in a specific sponsorship package or would like a customized solution, we are here to meet your advertising needs. Call 615-844-1039. 615-844-1039 or email saleswnsr@gmail.com. That's saleswnsr@gmail.com. And now, Kingdom Doors is proudly saluting the brave men and women in blue who work tirelessly to protect and serve our communities, especially our police and sheriffs. This message is brought to you by Kingdom Doors. For custom garage door installations, service, and repairs, give the pros a call today at 615-810-6415, 615-810-6415, or visit kingdom-doors.com. That's Kingdom Doors. They're professionals who care.
It's just a few cocktails at happy hour.
There aren't any cops around.
After every game, we always have a few. It's no big deal.
It was just a few drinks. I'm good.
Hey, I can hold my liquor.
I drink and drive all the time.
If you put away some drinks, put away your keys. Fans don't let fans drive drunk.
Brought to you by the Tennessee Highway Safety Office, a division of the Tennessee Department of Safety and Homeland Security.
We're talking to Nick Casario. I'm not sure how much you're willing to divulge in terms of the trade for Stephon Diggs, but how did that deal go down?
It wasn't something that we necessarily had on the radar. It wasn't necessarily something I think Buffalo was necessarily shopping. At some point, we felt there was an opportunity for us. I think if you look around the league, just teams are more open-minded. In the end, every team has to do what they feel is in their best interest. And in the end, we were able to work out an agreement with Steph and get them on the team.
Jim Rome is here weekdays 11 to 2 on Nashville Sports Radio, WNSR.
Final segment on a Monday. It's time for Plaster's Bet of the Day, brought to you by Bart Durham Injury Log. Give them a call, 615-242-9000, or log on to their website, bartdurham.com. All right, let's check out what happened to begin season number 3.
Thank God.
At last. 1-1.
We're 1-1. This is a victory.
The Phillies got a win.
Nice.
Was that Saturday, or was that, when did they win?
Well, remember, we did this last Wednesday.
So this Phillies win
was
Wednesday.
If you think I took them against the Braves, you're crazy. Okay, so what do we got tonight?
Tonight, we've got the Rangers.
We're taking the Rangers on the road at the Angels. Why? Because the Angels suck. There's just no other.
They're awful.
I know they're not good. Hey, by the way, before we get out of here, I try to have fun with calls, 3 red-blooded Americans and all that. But it was great today to have all of you out there giving us a holler. Do this. Pass along to 10,000 of your closest friends that we're out there, that we like taking phone calls. We like having fun with you all. This is not a combat zone. Calls should be fun.
And George is going to come up with another phrase other than red-blooded American.
I'm not
George.
sure.
That's your homework. That's your homework for tonight.
I'm not sure about that. Tony Basilio will join us tomorrow at 4:20. Looking forward to it. Kelly, behave until then.
I'll try.
Billy, just behave.
I will.
Yes. See all of you, and thanks for all the calls.